For most of modern history, privacy was physical. Closed doors, private conversations, personal space. But artificial intelligence doesn't need to watch you to know you. It learns from patterns, correlations, and fragments you never intended to share. A location ping here, a search query there, a pause, a scroll, a hesitation. And slowly, without permission or announcement, privacy stops being something you lose and becomes something that quietly dissolves. Welcome to AI Unlocked, the channel where we explore artificial intelligence, future tech, and the tools that are changing the world. Today, we're diving into AI and the end of privacy. Privacy used to be about secrets, things you chose not to share. AI changes that definition entirely. Modern systems don't need explicit information. They infer meaning from behavior. Data points become signals. Patterns become predictions. A single action reveals little, but millions of actions reveal intent. AI connects fragments humans would never link. What feels anonymous becomes identifiable. Privacy erodes not through exposure, but through inference. This shift is subtle. Nothing is taken outright. Instead, meaning is extracted. Privacy doesn't vanish suddenly. It thins over time. What's lost first isn't secrecy, but ambiguity. And once ambiguity is gone, privacy becomes fragile. Identity sharpens into a profile. The more precise the system becomes, the less room remains for anonymity. Traditional surveillance required observation. Cameras, listeners, records. AI introduces surveillance without watching. Systems analyze metadata, movement, and behavior rather than content itself. You don't need to be listened to, only logged. Location, timing, frequency, and interaction patterns tell a story. AI reconstructs lives from structure alone. Monitoring becomes passive and constant. This makes surveillance harder to notice and harder to resist. There's no moment of intrusion, just continuous analysis in the background. Awareness fades because nothing feels invasive. Oversight disappears into normal operation. Surveillance becomes infrastructure. Observation becomes assumption. AI-powered services offer ease, personalization, speed, anticipation. In exchange, they require data. The trade feels voluntary, even beneficial. But the cost is rarely visible. Privacy isn't taken aggressively, it's exchanged incrementally. Each convenience feels harmless. Together, they form a detailed portrait. Over time, opting out feels inconvenient. Friction returns. Privacy becomes something you sacrifice to function efficiently in modern systems. What was once optional becomes required. Choice narrows quietly. Convenience reshapes expectations. Resistance feels impractical. Human memory fades. AI memory doesn't. Data is stored, replicated, and reused indefinitely. Past behavior remains accessible long after context has changed. This permanence alters power dynamics. Mistakes follow people. Old patterns shape future predictions. Reinvention becomes harder when systems remember everything. Privacy once allowed growth through forgetting. AI replaces forgetting with recall. The past becomes permanent infrastructure. Time stops erasing context. Identity becomes frozen in data. History becomes predictive weight. Data ownership is unclear. Individuals generate data, but platforms store and interpret it. Value is extracted far from its source. AI models trained on behavior gain insight without compensation. Individuals lose control over how they're represented. Identity becomes something others calculate. This raises a fundamental question. If systems can predict you, influence you, and monetize you, who owns the digital version of you? Control shifts without consent. Representation becomes externalized. Personhood fragments into data assets. And this is where privacy stops being a personal issue. Because once systems know enough to predict behavior, the real question becomes how that knowledge is used. Stay with me. The next part explores what happens when prediction turns into power. Prediction enables influence. If a system knows what you're likely to do, it can shape what you see first. Options are reordered. Choices are framed. Behavior is nudged. This influence isn't forceful. It's subtle. Guidance replaces restriction. Control hides behind recommendation. When prediction becomes accurate enough, freedom feels intact, even as behavior becomes guided. Choice still exists, but context is engineered. Influence works best when unnoticed. Control feels like convenience. Direction replaces deliberation. AI-driven monitoring becomes normal through exposure. What once felt invasive becomes routine. Tracking is justified by safety, efficiency, and optimization. Resistance fades gradually. New generations inherit surveillance as default. Privacy stops being expected. When monitoring is everywhere, absence feels suspicious. The burden shifts from systems to individuals to justify privacy. Opting out feels abnormal. Silence becomes a signal. Visibility becomes compliance. Privacy becomes a privilege. Those with resources can shield themselves. Others can't. Opting out requires time, money, and technical knowledge. AI amplifies this divide. Some live under constant analysis, others move quietly. Exposure becomes uneven. Over time, privacy inequality mirrors economic inequality. Visibility becomes a marker of vulnerability. The most observed are often the least protected. Surveillance concentrates downward. Power remains insulated. Regulation moves slowly. AI evolves quickly. Laws often respond to harms after they occur. This creates gaps. Systems operate in gray zones. Enforcement lags behind capability. By the time rules exist, norms may already be set. Privacy erodes faster than it can be protected. Power consolidates during the delay. Prevention becomes reaction. Oversight arrives late. The future of privacy may not be secrecy, but control. Knowing what's collected. Choosing how it's used. Limiting inference. This requires transparency by design. Systems that explain themselves. Boundaries that are enforced, not implied. Privacy doesn't vanish by default. It disappears when it isn't defended deliberately. Design becomes ethics in code. Protection becomes intentional. Control replaces concealment. AI doesn't need to watch your life to understand it. It only needs patterns, probabilities, and time. As intelligent systems grow more capable, privacy isn't lost in a single moment. It fades quietly behind convenience, optimization, and prediction. If you found this episode gripping, make sure to follow the channel and subscribe for more cinematic explorations into how artificial intelligence is reshaping power, autonomy, and modern life. And in our next video, we move from what AI knows about you to what AI is doing to your livelihood in how AI is shaping the job market, exploring how hiring, automation, pay, and career stability are being quietly restructured, and what that means for the next decade of work.